longer if they take tamoxifen. They also say that for women with low end of the high-risk group, the sometimes serious side effects outweigh the benefits. Our next news break is at the bottom of the hour. Hannity and Colmes returns right after the break, right here on Fox News Channel.
Top Story is brought to you by BP.
What do you think cars will be running on in the future?
Grass, leaves, trees, garbage.
Hydrogen fuel cells.
Give me that solar car, I'm there.
We need to really be conscious of what we're putting into our cars, just like we put into our bodies, and we need to make that shift that, well, what we're doing is really messing things up. We need to make that change.
A 7-speed automatic transmission, a 268 horsepower engine. Start a summer romance that lasts a lifetime. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. See your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for a great lease offer on a powerful 2006 E350 sedan.
Why do I like working here? I'm part of something big. I'm part of the future. I bring people together and send smiles, literally. Michael's my son. We have a good time together. Michael thinks my job is pretty cool. But what I like the most is that Verizon Wireless works as hard for me as I do for our customers. Through our tuition reimbursement program, I earn my certification. As I grow, the company grows. I am Diane Mundy, Verizon Wireless Project Engineer. It's very exciting to be part of something like this.
As a kid, I used technology to help people do better. Today, Scottrade does the same for online investors. If you've been thinking about moving your account, this is the perfect time to come to Scottrade. With powerful trading tools and fast, accurate $7 trades, Scottrade gives you more for your money.
It's a fact. The more we learn about how to take care of ourselves and our families, the longer and healthier our lives become. That's why more people turn to WebMD than any other health information source. It's a place where people find answers to health questions with an ease never before possible, where doctors discover new and better ways to care for their patients. A place where everyone can finally forge a link between better information and better health. WebMD.
Fox News Channel, bringing you the news.
A dozen rockets at least raining down on here.
As it happens.
The falling, I'd say, about a quarter mile from our position.
Investigating all points of view.
You can hear the small arms fire and the answering boom.
Researching, getting you the background.
I'm watching a pair of fighter jets which are streaking in this direction.
Finding out what it means to you. Daytime, prime time, anytime, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Only one puts the news in perspective. The world's events in context. Only Fox News Channel.
And welcome back to Hannity and Colmes. Joining us now, former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu. The Prime Minister, as you know, the Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice is there. She said today she insisted that Hezbollah free the 2 Israeli soldiers, pull back from the border before there could be any ceasefire. That's the minimal conditions. But is that a good strategy at this point for Israel, because they would be able to come back and fight another day?
Well, these are parts of the UN Resolution 1559 that called on them to do that. Obviously, it didn't call on them to return kidnapped soldiers because it didn't contemplate that they'd kidnap soldiers. But it did call on them to pull back from the border to have the Lebanese army fan there, and called on them to be disarmed and disbanded. And I think that's perhaps the most important thing, because if they retain their rockets with which they're pummeling Israeli cities right now, deliberately targeting civilians, then we won't achieve that much, will we?
You made a point in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about how 44 years ago Soviet missiles ended up in Cuba, and John Kennedy, President Kennedy at the time, set the goal, and that was to remove the missiles. You say in your piece it's a similar situation: remove the missiles or destroy them. It seems Israel is going in piecemeal, that they decided against a full invasion. Do you think you'll be able to accomplish that goal militarily that way?
The government has set a goal to remove the threat from Israel's cities and its civilians, and specifically to remove the missile threat. I'm not going to second guess them in the middle of the war. We are in the middle of a war. It's instructive, though, that when John F. Kennedy said, get the missiles out of a neighboring state, he did two things. One, he did this when the missiles were a potential threat. They hadn't been fired. We've been hit by over 1,000 rockets from Hezbollah arsenals, Syrian and Iranian supplied missiles. And secondly, John Kennedy said that even though there were ICBMs that could reach the United States mainland from the Soviet Union, he said and thought that the presence of these missiles in the unstable Cuban regime with that hand on the trigger was too dangerous for America. And similarly for us, the presence of these missiles in Hezbollah's hands is an intolerable threat. If this is resolved when that missile arsenal is intact, you know it's just a question of time when Hezbollah will fire them again when it suits their Iranian and Syrian patrons.
Much has been made about 1559. There is some controversy, it seems, about UN Resolution 242, which of course calls for Israel to remove itself from territories acquired in the 1967 war. Is it your view that that has been fulfilled, or is there still some issue about whether or not that has been adhered to?
Well, it calls for Israel to remove itself from territories and not the territories, to secure and recognize boundaries. We've done, the question is, what is a secure boundary? The 1967 lines were obviously insecure because we were attacked from them time and again. But even so, we moved to the 67 lines both in Lebanon and in Gaza, and we were attacked. And we certainly don't have any recognition, any peace that is quid pro quo of peace. So the conditions of Resolution 242 are not met. They're not just an Israeli withdrawal. First of all, they're not withdrawal from the territories. They're withdrawal from territories in exchange for security and recognition. We got neither security or recognition. We got insecurity, terror campaigns, and war.
I know there's been some. I know the word "the" is not in there, but there are those who interpret it as meaning the territories, even though the word "the" is not in there. Syria is now saying it is ready for talks with the United States, for example, to broker a ceasefire. Why wouldn't that be a great opportunity to try to bring peace?
Syria says that from one side of its mouth, and the other side of its mouth, or if you will, from its hidden hand, it has been supplying. In the course of this, of the recent outbreak, it has been supplying Hezbollah with rockets. So Syria has to decide which side it wants to play. Does it want to play peace broker or war maker? So far it's played war maker. Now if Syria, because of American pressure and international pressure, feels compelled to act to moderate Hezbollah and indeed to rein it in and to stop supplying it with war weapons, it's fine with me. But I think they will do so only if they understand that there is immense American-led pressure on them, and that is not merely offering a bunch of carrots, but having a lot of sticks, a very big stick, that they have to consider.
I'll continue now with former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu right after the break. Plus, we're going to bring you the very latest on new reports that Hezbollah sleeper cells plan to attack Jewish targets across the globe. And is there a threat to the United States? All of that and more coming up straight ahead.
This program is brought to you by Crestor. Visit Crestor.com and ask your doctor if Crestor is right for you.
Think you know all there is to know about getting your cholesterol right? You may be wrong, because getting bad cholesterol down might be just part of the equation. You may also want to get your good cholesterol up. Even more surprising, this cholesterol medicine does both. Crestor. Crestor, along with diet, can lower bad cholesterol by up to 52%. But Crestor also raises your good cholesterol. Down with the bad, up with the good. Is Crestor right for you? That's between you and your doctor. Crestor is not for everyone, including people with liver disease and women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Tell your doctor about other medications you're taking, or if you experience muscle pain or weakness, as they may be a sign of serious side effects. Down with the bad, up with the good. Talk to your doctor about Crestor.
If you're without prescription coverage and can't afford your medication, AstraZeneca may be able to help.
ingeniously designed to help protect the things that need protecting. Energy-absorbing ACE body structure, standard on the all-new Civic. Only from Honda.
Interest rates keep climbing, and so are your monthly payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save as much as $250 a month. Call 1-800-555-TREE now to lower your monthly payments. When banks compete, you win. Rates are climbing higher, and so are your interest payments. Refinance your adjustable rate mortgage with LendingTree and save up to $3,000 a year. Call 1-800-555-TREE now before rates climb even higher. When banks compete, you win.
Finally, there's a real choice in home phone service, because with Comcast Digital Voice, now you're talking. For one flat rate, you get unlimited local and nationwide long distance on the phones you already have. Using the power of the Comcast fiber optic network we built from the ground up. That includes 12 calling features and voicemail you can check online. So don't just chat. Talk with Comcast Digital Voice. Just $33 a month for up to 12 months. Comcast, the power of one.
We were having a hard time staying on top of things. Portfolios, scheduling, auditions. Oh, horrific. It got pretty ugly.
I want my own trailer and a masseuse. This is so beneath me.
A lot of it's done online now. Sure, we looked at DSL, but Comcast gives us more speed.
It's pooperific.
And it includes McAfee security free. Bottom line,
it's pooperific.
Comcast gives us the performance we're looking for.
Comcast Workplace, broadband for business.
To Hannity and Colmes, here's more of our interview with former Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
I want to go back to your article in yesterday's Wall Street Journal, where you said it's not enough to push Hezbollah back 30 kilometers. They have rockets that can go over 200 kilometers, nor it is enough to achieve a ceasefire, because with their missile arsenal intact, they could reemerge triumphant a year or two and menace the entire population of Israel and cause chaos in the Mideast. The bigger problem, though, isn't it, that they could come with some nuclear device or chemical or biological weapons? Isn't that got to be the biggest concern if you don't destroy the infrastructure and finish the job completely now?
I think it's a real threat. I'm not sure a nuclear threat in the hand of Hezbollah is what we're dealing with, but I wouldn't rule out other types of weapons, deadlier weapons, because
if down the road Iran got nuclear.
What we're seeing is that, well, if Iran goes nuclear, then we all have an enormous problem, because what we're unmasking here is the degree of fanaticism that these militants have, and the fact that they have no compunction whatsoever to rocket cities with no provocation whatsoever. And you'd fear a world in which the Ayatollahs have atomic missiles. I think this is something that we've not faced. We've not faced a global militancy, a global fanaticism that is armed with the weapons of mass death. The last time we were faced with that possibility was over 60 years ago, when another global fanaticism, Hitlerism, sought to achieve nuclear weapons, but didn't. Thank God, it was defeated in time. But imagine a world where those madmen, had nuclear weapons, and you can see the kind of peril we're all in. So I think there are two problems here. I think there ought to be a division of labor to address these two problems. Israel must disarm Hezbollah, and especially must disarm it from these long-range missiles. I think, by the way, there are not thousands of these long-range missiles. There are several hundred at most. But those missiles have to go, and they have caused a strategic change in our situation. The second thing is that the United States must lead an effort to prevent Iran from acquiring those nuclear weapons. And I respect the statements made by the President and the Vice President that indeed Iran must not acquire atomic weapons.
Can Israel totally eliminate Hezbollah militarily?
But wait a minute. Yes, it can if it chooses to do so. Yes, it can, or nearly. Depends on the amount of force that you use. But I would ask a different question. You say it hasn't eliminated it. Look, we're facing now an Islamic militancy of historic proportions. It is not a wham, a slam bam. It's not like that. It's not a slam dunk. This is a war. President Bush said in 9/11 that this would be a protracted war, and he's right. But remember that what you have here are forces that have been percolating for 1,000 years. The Shiites in Iran who are behind this are talking for 1,000 years since the disappearance of their sacred imam, the Mahdi. They say the Mahdi will come back in 1,000 years. That's about now. 25 years ago, a quarter of a century ago, they built the Islamic Republic of Tehran. They also vanquished the Soviet Air Force in Afghanistan, created Al-Qaeda, and now they believe they're on the march. They're in Lebanon. And they look at us and they say, do we have what it takes to resist them, to defeat them? And I think that this is, in our ahistoric Western view, we think that it's just a question of next week's ceasefire and today's news headlines. But what all those who are looking at it have to understand that our civilization, our common civilization, is under attack by this Islamic fanaticism. It is currently striking Israel, to be sure, because it's the forward position of the Western free liberal civilization that we all adhere to. But this is only their first target. Remember that. And understand that just as in the case of other mad militancies, it took a while. But ultimately, the free world prevailed. And this is what must happen here. We must not ask how long it takes. We must ask, what does it take to achieve victory over these fanatics?
And coming up next, we'll check in with our own Bill Hemmer on the ground in Israel. He's got a report on the damage being caused by nonstop Katyusha rocket attacks. And still to come tonight with reports that Hezbollah sleeper cells are ready to attack Jewish targets across the globe. What is being done in preparation? Our military panel will begin here in a few minutes to weigh in. Lots more to come still tonight on Hannity and Colmes.
For design to be truly inspired, it must be more than just artful. It must perform beautifully too. Now at the Infinity Limited Engagement Summer Event, test drive the Infinity M or FX and ask about our attractive lease and finance rates. But don't wait too long. The Infinity Limited Engagement ends July 31st.
When something really fits, you can feel it, like the fit you get with C-Bond denture adhesive. It's the only wafer that has a gasket effect that locks dentures in place. Only C-Bond gives you all-over coverage, all-over hold in a wafer. No mess, no ooze.
When your dentures really fit, you can feel it.
Now, lock dentures in place with C-Bond, the adhesive wafer with the gasket fit. C-Bond.
So, John and I are thinking of going to Cancun, if we can find a good deal.
It's funny. So are Dan and I.
It's time to play Take On Orbits. Today's players want a total vacation, hotel plus flight, and must save over $300. Go.
I need a deal to Cancun.
Oh, that's outrageous.
Done. Congratulations. Thanks.
It's that easy.
Save $75 instantly on Orbit's already low prices during the Super Summer Sale. Just Orbits and go.
I know you got the power to create. You got the power to express. I know you got the power to dream. You got the power for success.
Time to get back to it. Come on and move it. Focus on your goals. Anything you want, you can do it.
You can feel the rhythm of the ride. If you let it, you can use the powers in your mind. If you dream it, you can fly by the birds in the sky. And all you gotta do is try. So what you got?
I know you got the power.
Got the power, come on.
I know you got the power.
Got the power, yeah.
I won't be scared of the playground anymore. I won't live in fear of runny noses. My immune system will fight back after the leukemia is gone. And I will laugh and smile and hold little Pete so tight. I'll never let him go.
Find the confidence to face any condition at Cleveland Clinic.
Here we go. I'm sorry, Jake was next.
Yeah, well, we're next now.
Well, washed all the dishes and I did a lot more. I even bought the dinner at the grocery store. And now, Mom, you're buying the key next door. This little girl's gonna rock it. I left some biscuits for the pup. I put fresh water in it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Harris Faulkner. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice in the Middle East looking for a way to bring peace to the region. Fox News correspondent Molly Henneberg is live in Washington with the latest on this. Good evening, Molly.
Hi, Harris. A couple of themes repeated by Secretary Rice today. Number one, that any peace deals in the Middle East should be, quote, sustainable. And number two, that the way forward should encompass UN Resolution 1559, which requires in part that Hezbollah be disarmed. Otherwise, Rice said, as she met with Israel's foreign minister, a peace agreement wouldn't last.
If we have learned anything, it is that any peace is going to have to be based on enduring principles and not on temporary solutions. We will talk about how to get to an enduring cessation of violence.
Secretary Rice also made an unannounced stop in Beirut and met with Lebanese Prime Minister Fouad Senoura. Senoura and other Lebanese leaders want the U.S. to press Israel for an immediate ceasefire, but the Bush administration says any ceasefire must weaken Hezbollah. Live in Washington, I'm Molly Henneberg. Harris, back to you.
All right, Molly, thank you. On the Record comes your way at the top of the hour. Hannity and Colmes returns right now. For all the latest headlines, go to foxnews.com.
And this is a Fox News alert. Hezbollah militants continue their barrage of rocket attacks on northern Israel today, firing at least 100 Katyusha rockets across the border. Joining us now with the very latest, Fox News Channel's own Bill Hemmer.
Guys, it was quiet here in Kiryat Shimon until 4:10 in the afternoon. Then all of a sudden, a dozen rockets raining down on this town like giant deadly lawn darts just popping in the ground all around us here. The weapon of terror used by Hezbollah, the Katyusha rocket yet again. When one of those hit the street outside here, here's what our Fox crew found when we arrived shortly thereafter. There is smoke on the hills there above Kiryat Shimon, and in the near ground too. One of the Katyusha rockets made a direct hit on either a building or a house or the street. Down here, it also made an impact on the street. Here's a crater. It's probably 10 minutes old at this point. I'd say it goes down at least 12 inches, maybe a little further. Also down the street here, just off to my right, see the smoke coming up from the top of that house? Another rocket landed in that location as well. Over here, there was a gentleman. Sir, can I see that a second? He's walking away with the tip of the Katyusha rocket. These are not big rockets, maybe 5-6 feet in length, maybe 100 pounds overall. He says he wants to keep it as a souvenir, and he's leaving with it. Over here, the police have responded now. What's different about an attack like this is that we are in the middle of Kiryat Shimon, in the middle of this town. Oftentimes, we'll get them landing out in the field out here, up in the fields up here along the ridgeline. It is not common when they hit here in town. In this latest attack, 3 struck right here, including one in this blacktop below me. Believe it or not, in all of this, only 1 injured. However, several treated for panic and shock after that. Also, an exclusive interview only here on Fox, the general in charge of all the soldiers on the land throughout the area of Israel, telling us that he denies these reports that Israel needs a week or 10 days to complete its operation in southern Lebanon. He says his army will continue for weeks if necessary. That is, if the diplomats and the politicians allow his army to continue. Back to you guys in New York.
All right, thanks, Bill. This is a Fox News alert. As we mentioned earlier in the show, the Jerusalem Post is reporting tonight that Hezbollah sleeper cells around the world have in fact been activated, and they could be preparing attacks against Jewish and Israeli targets outside of the Middle East. Joining us now are Colonels Bill Cowan and David Hunt, both Fox News military analysts. Colonel Hunt, let me start with you. First of all, we're watching Bill Hemmer's report on these Katyusha rockets. They're really not effective, although they go deeper into Israel than they have in the past because of the new borders, A. And secondly, the great concern is if the weaponry gets more sophisticated, we're talking about the potential for real damage in these cities. Right, Bill? Or Colonel Hunt?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to remember Hezbollah is the one that killed our great Marines in 1983. They're a murdering bunch of bastards. They're a full-blown terrorist organization. And the Katyusha rocket is a terrorist weapon. It's a fire and forget, but it's like 100 pounds on a telephone pole. They shoot it and run away. But they also have Silkworm missiles and other guidance systems missiles from China. So as great as the Israeli Air Force is, and they're doing a great job, Israel's still getting hit with 100 rounds a day. And they're going to have to go across, Sean. They're going to have to make a ground attack.
That raises the question, incursion versus invasion. I mean, can they do it and get the job done and root out Hezbollah, as Benjamin Netanyahu has told us earlier tonight, and finish the job, as he writes in the Wall Street Journal? Can they do it by not getting in there fully and really knocking this out?
My answer is no. They've got to go across. They should go across. This is a chance to kill as many Hezbollah as you can and influence Damascus and influence Tehran. Hezbollah, again, killed our Marines in '83. We did nothing. They've been murdering Americans and anybody else all over the world. And this is, I'm sorry to say, this is payback time. And it's about time, but they need to go across and finish the job.
Hey, Colonel Cowan, how powerful is Hezbollah in terms of its weaponry? How much firepower globally does it have?
Well, that's a good question, Alan. I mean, we see what they're able to do there in southern Lebanon, but the reality is, as you said, coming into this segment, they have sleeper cells around the world. We don't know what those sleeper cells have with them in terms of weaponry or ammunition or bomb-making material, but we know they are out there. They're certainly looking at Israeli targets, but I'd go beyond that and say they're looking at U.S. targets, not only military and diplomatic, but probably commercial targets.
When you say sleeper cells around the world, are they in the United States?
They're in the United States, Alan. They're also here in the United States.
How prolific are they here?
I don't think they're going to be activated unless Hezbollah really starts suffering, having a hard time, and or the U.S. puts a lot of pressure on the Syrians or the Iranians. I don't mean military pressure, but just really put things tough on them, put the screws to them with verbiage at least, and I think we could see our own problems. Certainly Israelis around the world could
Colonel
too.
Hunt, how prolific, how widespread are they in the U.S., and who knows, who in the intelligence community or anywhere else in our government knows where they are?
Well, it's numbers-wise, and Hezbollah is about 10,000 in southern Lebanon. In this country, we don't have a good number because we've got 20 million illegal aliens we can't figure out. So I'm sorry to say this, we don't know the number of Hezbollah cells. We had some guess on Al-Qaeda. But Bill's right. They've been here, and there's no reason to assume they're not. We've got 50 terrorist cells, 50 terrorist organizations in Canada. We got an open border, and they operate out of embassies. They're well organized, and they are killers. I keep saying this. They killed the Marines in '83, and nothing happened. Here, for sure, I agree with Bill, though. Whether they're turned on or off or not, we still got to go get them.
All right, we're going to continue more with Colonel Hunt. We'll turn to Colonel Cowan in just a moment. First, we check in with Greta Van Susteren, who's standing by for a sneak peek of what's coming up in 22 short minutes from now. And Greta goes on the record tonight. Greta.
Sean, of course, we'll pick up the coverage at 10 p.m. Eastern. This is a breaking news story. This is war. We have correspondents all over the region to bring the information as it happens. Dawn happens during the course of our hour when there's a lot of military action. We'll have that as well and much more. Back to you.
All right, on the record right after Hannity and Colmes tonight. Later in the show, we'll have an exclusive interview. Remember that 16-year-old cancer patient is fighting a court order that forces him to undergo chemotherapy. The judge has ruled, and yes, the state says he must undergo it. What will his decision be? He'll tell us tonight.
So, we go to this new place. The waiter says, try this, you'll like it. What is it? Try it, you'll like it. So what did I do? I ate it all. Took Alka-Seltzer.
Alka-Seltzer dissolves stomach discomfort and pain.
What? Close the door. Close the door.
Even when you're not watching, it gets closed. Hefty One-Zip closes first time, every time.
A 7-speed automatic transmission, a 268 horsepower engine. Start a summer romance that lasts a lifetime. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. See your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for a great lease offer on a powerful 2006 E350 sedan.
The Home Depot is giving you a good reason to decorate your ceiling.
The third one's perfect.
I love that one too.
Right now, save 20% off select ceiling fans and lighting. With so many styles from brands like Hampton Bay and Hunter, you're sure to find the perfect accent for your room. Only at the Home Depot.
You can do it. We can help.
I'm Morgan Spurlock on the season premiere of 30 Days. What happens when a border patrolling Minuteman, we've got about 6 of them out there, moves in with a family of illegal immigrants?
Buenos dias.
Will he call for reinforcements?
Americans, save this country or you will have none.
Which side of the fence will he end up on?
We're not criminals. I'm a great asset to this country.
If this is not the beginning of a revolution, I don't know what is. Join me for 30 life-changing days in 1 hour.
30 Days, an all-new season, Wednesday at 10, only on FX.
There's no one exactly like you. No one has the same financial goals or cares about the same people. That's why Raymond James Financial Advisors have the independence to offer unbiased advice that's right for you. And it's why we pioneered the idea of financial planning. You might say we're just as unique as you are. Raymond James, individual solutions from independent advisors.
How do you measure a company? Do you look at where they've been? Do you look at what they've done? At Citgo, we're not resting on our past. We're looking forward to the future. Providing steady, secure access to the largest liquid reserves in the Western Hemisphere, today and for generations to come.
Welcome back to Hannity and Colmes. We now continue with Fox News military analyst Lieutenant Colonel Bill Cowan and Colonel David Hunt. Colonel Hunt, you were saying before the break, we were talking about the Hezbollah around the world, including cells in the United States. We're combining that with the immigration issue. You said open borders. Is there any evidence that Hezbollah or people associated with it have come over through Mexico to be in this country?
Not through Mexico. The answer is I don't know where they came from, but they were found in South Carolina and in the Washington, D.C. area. The problem, quite frankly, is it's what we don't know, Alan. We've got 12 to 20 million people in this country. We don't know who they are. It'd be idiotic to assume that some of them are terrorists, and I'm sure they are. And you know what? We got to go find them anyways and get a handle on this. This war that Israel has right now with Hezbollah is just another reason for us to care about our security.
I got you.
We're sending bombs to Israel. We're rushing them over there, expediting delivery. Is there any evidence that Hezbollah is being armed by Iran or anybody else?
Yeah, absolutely. There's evidence. We've got bomb material. We can trace the ball bearings right to Syria. The intelligence is traced it from China through Iran into Syria down into southern Lebanon. We did not know the massive amounts. The U.S. government, Alan, it did give missiles to Israel, but they're also now spending $30 million and helicopters and boats to help the Lebanese people. So we're on both sides of this right now.
Colonel Cowan, it sounds like we're in a proxy war with Iran.
Well, Alan, to some degree we are. I mean, I think the reality is we need to let Israel do what they have to do with Hezbollah, but we, the United States, should both take on Iran and Syria. I don't mean militarily. At a minimum, Alan, we should very aggressively and actively, publicly, be supporting the resistance, the political resistance outside both of those countries that wants to see regime change.
When you say take them on, but not militarily, isn't that kind of hedging? Isn't militarily what you really mean? And if we're going to take them on, how do you then not say militarily?
Well, I say take them on by supporting the political resistance movements outside both of those countries. Syria and Iran are very active and have followings inside the country. When we talk about regime change, we don't always need to do it militarily. We can do it through the political process, but we're not providing support to any of those resistance groups.
Colonel Hunt, I am hard-pressed to understand this mentality that we could somehow come to a peaceful solution with people. If you read Hamas's charter, it says obliterate Israel and do not go along with any type of negotiated settlement. Hezbollah is $100 million they get a year from Iran. Iran and Syria are giving them the weapons to go against Israel. They're fomenting this terror. How do you negotiate with these people? Where is this mentality that somehow we now got to sit down at the table with people that are sworn to the destruction of innocent people?
I'm not so sure Israel wants to sit down with them. I think we're trying to be in the area, and I don't know politics very well, but to get a force to sit in southern Lebanon. But Hamas, the problem is, freely elected. I got to remind us that Israel did not want those elections, Sean, because Hamas was on the ballot. We forced it. Now Hamas is running Palestine, so we got an issue. Hezbollah's got seats in the parliament. They're a deadly terrorist organization, and we have to pay attention. I'm not so sure we want to negotiate right now. We can take as much of southern Lebanon as we want, but politically, sooner or later, Damascus and Bill's right and Tehran have to be dealt with.
Well, I mean, but this is the point, Colonel Cowan. Are we at war with Islamic fascists? Are we at war with terrorists? The idea that we would accelerate already approved arms to Israel, frankly, seems like the least of what we ought to be doing. We ought to be rearming them with anything they need right now because we're at war with the same enemy.
I agree totally, Sean. And those are enemies who are absolutely sworn, and they'll say it publicly. They've said it publicly. They're sworn to pushing Israel into the Mediterranean, to the demise of Israel. And we've said it last week on this show. Everybody listening to this show should realize when Israel goes, we're next. And if we don't want to be next, we better support Israel every way we can.
Explain to me this resistance around the world to accept the reality that these are people that cannot be negotiated with, that these are people that are the modern-day Nazis. Why can't people see what's going on here? Why don't they listen to Ahmadinejad's anti-Semitic rhetoric, his desire to ruin the state of Israel and annihilate it, as he says? Why don't we heed the warning? Why do we seem to fall prey to the same patterns of appeasement leading up to World War II?
Sean, they don't want to accept the fact that they are targets too. They think that we and the Israelis and some people in the West, the Brits, are the only targets out there, and the rest of the world doesn't understand that they're targets too. Look what the Taliban did to the Buddha statue there inside the cliffs there in Afghanistan. Totally destroyed it. Everybody's at risk, Sean, and they ought to all be on the same boat.
Colonel Hunt, Colonel Cowan, thank you. Coming up next, this 16-year-old cancer patient has been ordered by a judge to undergo chemotherapy. He'll be here live in an exclusive interview with an important update. Still to come tonight, the sights and sounds from today in the Middle East. Coming up on Hannity and Colmes.
This program is brought to you by Fiber Choice, the fiber you need in a great-tasting, chewable tablet.
Are you getting enough fiber in your diet? To get the 25 to 30 grams of daily fiber you need for ongoing good health, what else would you have time for? That's why there's great-tasting Fiber Choice, the chewable fiber supplement. Each bottle contains 180 grams of fiber. You'd need more than 3 bottles of fiber pills at 3 times the price to get the same amount. And try new Fiber Choice Plus Calcium with as much calcium as 14 ounces of milk in each dose. Fiber Choice, original and new Plus Calcium chewable tablets.
When does the best-selling car in America become the best car for America? When does an engine become an engine of change? Introducing the first ever gas-electric Camry with hybrid Synergy drive. It's time to move forward.
Don't miss the Parade of Homes, on now through July 30th at Allegro Ridge in Washougal. Open daily, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., where dream homes really do come true.
Of the rarest, most beautiful, and most sought-after gold coins in history were not even known to exist until a few short years ago. But now, Monaco Financial, one of the nation's leading rare coin firms, announces the availability of a very limited number of truly historic and truly magnificent gold coins minted during the 1850s California Gold Rush. These rare $20 gold double eagles, private assayer, and territorial gold coins, and more, are now available for acquisition by those who can appreciate this historic numismatic opportunity. Call Monaco Financial now for this free catalog of rare gold coins and other treasure recovered from the 1857 shipwreck of the SS Central America. Call 1-800-283-6161 now for your free Monaco Financial Gold Rush Treasure Catalog. That's 1-800-283-6161. Own a piece of history. Call Monaco for your free catalog now.
New hit movies you can order on demand. And look what you can order right now.
Why am I being investigated? Why am I being investigated?
See George Clooney's Academy Award-winning performance.
Hey!
Syriana, now on demand.
They're like people or something living in those hills.
The lucky ones die first. Order The Hills Have Eyes on demand. Hit movies without the trip to the video store. On demand with Comcast Digital Cable.
As we continue on Hannity and Colmes, now a few weeks ago on this program, we introduced you to 16-year-old cancer patient Abraham Cherricks. Now, after a painful and debilitating round of chemotherapy, Abraham and his parents decided to pursue alternative medicine. But just last Friday, a judge ruled that Abraham must go to a Virginia hospital for treatment and declared his parents neglectful for allowing their son to pursue therapy that included an organic diet, herbal supplements, supervised by a clinic in Mexico. Now, Abraham will have to report to this children's hospital tomorrow afternoon to receive his court-ordered treatment, barring a last-minute action by a different judge tomorrow morning. Abraham Cherricks, he joins us now in this exclusive first interview since the decision to compel treatment. Also joining us his father, Jay Cherricks, and their lawyer, John Stepanovich. Welcome all of you to the program. Abraham, first of all, you went through chemo. It didn't work. It nearly killed you. You wanted an alternative, and you found one, correct?
That's correct.
All right, first of all, I know I speak for this audience. We want you to get well at the end of all this, and you shouldn't have to be fighting this in court. A judge is compelling you to go to a hospital and receive therapy that you don't want to receive, chemotherapy tomorrow. Have you decided what you're going to do?
Yes, I have. I'm not going to receive chemotherapy, no matter what. This is my body, the body that God gave to me, and in the Bible it says for me to take care of this body. It's my temple. And I believe strongly that I have the right to take and do with my body as I please to do with it. Because if you are not able to do with your body what you want to, then you have no rights whatsoever.
I guess I'll ask your father and your attorney. I mean, are we headed for a showdown tomorrow where when Abraham doesn't show up, Jay or John, he doesn't show up, that they're going to strap him on a gurney and force chemotherapy into his body? Is that what's going to happen?
I can't believe that in the country that we live in, all the freedoms that we fought for, that there would be somebody in this country that would do that to this young man who's made his decision and doesn't want it.
But Jay, you may lose your son as a result of this. You may be held in contempt of court. Both of you may end up in jail as a result of this. Have they told you what the consequences would be about your decision tomorrow?
Well, the decision is for me and his mother to present him, and I suppose that if we don't sign the waivers, which they want us to sign, then we'll be held in contempt. And I suppose that that's a small price to pay for freedom. If they want to incarcerate me because of the belief that we have that this is the best policy, this is the best direction we can go to find a cure for this child that we really love, then that's a price I'm willing to pay.
Hey, Jay, John, Abraham, it's Alan. Thank you very much for coming back on the show. John, what legal options are there at this point?
Well, we have already filed a motion to stay the decision with the same judge that issued his order on Friday. We didn't anticipate that he would reverse himself, and he did not. Today he denied our motion. But we also filed a motion to stay with the circuit court, and thankfully we have a hearing on that tomorrow at noon. We've also filed a writ of prohibition with the Court of Appeals. That remains an option, and ultimately we have an option to the Supreme Court of the Virginia.
Abraham, can you help our audience, Abraham, understand what you've gone through this? You've done, as Sean pointed out, chemo before. Could you help the audience understand what it is you experienced that makes you not want to do this again?
When I first started taking chemotherapy, the only way I can describe it is it was worse than dying itself. It was more like torture. I remember that when I received the first chemotherapy treatment, that night I was nauseous, I had a stomach ache, I had a headache. I couldn't move without getting nauseous again and again and again. I got up several times to go into the bathroom to throw up, and during that time all I wanted to do was lay on the floor because it was so cold. I just remember that it was the most horrible thing that I think I've ever gone through in my life, and I would gladly have welcomed dying right then and there.
Jay, what's really amazing here is that a child is not allowed, he's not really a child, but at a certain age, you're not allowed to make this decision, but an adult can make this decision without court getting involved. But you are the parent, and you're all agreeing on this, and so one could say you are the adult here.
Well, in a family environment, everyone has an equal voice, and you have to agonize with a decision like this because it is life and death. And this wasn't a decision that we came to lightly. We've been down a long, dark, dusty road. And at the end, there's a light. And we're trying to reach that light to make Abraham better. And we come to that decision as a family. And we have that right. Every single family in America has the right to reach the decision on their own. And each and every family is at risk if this person is not allowed to do that.
Guys, we're going to follow this story very, very closely because I can't believe that they're going to do this to you, Abraham, and force you to do this, but we'll monitor it. I think you have the right to make that decision with your parents, and I think this is outrageous. We wish you the best, and we wish you the best in health. Appreciate you being with us. When we come back, the sights and sounds of today's events in the Middle East.
Water in one room can mean water damage in the walls and ceilings of other rooms as well. So call the water cleanup specialist at 1-800-SERVPRO, like it never even happened.
Once I started using the Oragel tooth desensitizer, it was like, wow, pain-free for the rest of the month. And it's just absolutely fantastic.
Oragel, swab it on, sensitivity gone.
Thank you so much, Oragel.
Dear Dr. Z, my class is learning about the environment. What are you doing to help?
Well, class, this Jeep Liberty diesel gets 26 highway miles per gallon. And we're building a flex fuel Commander and Grand Cherokee. Plus, coming soon, the world's cleanest diesel. They're our cleanest 4x4s ever.
It's a joke.
Is that mustache real?
It's back. Employee pricing plus up to $2,000 cash allowance. Get our employee price on most 2006 Jeep vehicles.
We're prepared for everything. But not this. Follow me. Stay together.
I got it, Sarge.
So he did go down there. And did he go in the buildings?
I got 2 cops found in the middle of the rubble, still alive. We'll make it well. We're not leaving you. You are our mission.
World Trade Center. Rated PG-13. August 9th.
At the end of the day, all you want is to be comfortable. DoubleTree, a member of the Hilton family of hotels.
TD Ameritrade's Apex traders are among the best in the business. Most people stay with the obvious, like a stock that's in the news. I focus on a specific sector. I explore it. I know it.
TD Ameritrade, where you'll find powerful trading tools like our exclusive market motion detector. Get free trades for 45 days and $500 cash. And get $9.99 trades. Call 877-TD Ameritrade.
Independence is the spirit that drives America's most successful investors.
Start a summer romance that lasts a lifetime. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. Cruise into your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for great lease and financing offers on select models.
Finally tonight, we'll leave you with the sights and sounds from the crisis in the Middle East. Greta Van Susteren's coming up next to go on the record. We'll see you tomorrow night, live at 9 Eastern. Stay tuned for Greta. Have a great night.
Right now, thousands and thousands on edge. Dawn is about to break in Israel and Lebanon. Rockets and bombs are driving the death toll higher. Calls for a ceasefire are flat out rejected. And just hours ago, direct hits. Hezbollah rockets rain on northern Israel, some slamming right into the heart of the town of Kiryat Shimona. And now, huge, thick clouds of smoke and fire blanket that Israeli town. And right now, Israeli ground troops move deeper into Lebanon border towns where they are meeting fierce, unexpected resistance. And these Israeli raids are coming with a big price tags. Israeli soldiers are dying. And today, there is also death in Lebanon with more air raids on southern Lebanese cities. Security officials report 3 civilian deaths. It's hard to know for sure how many are dead and who they are. All this as Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice makes a surprise stop in Beirut before heading to Israel. Regrettably, this is war, and we have reporters all over the area to bring you the news as it breaks, and it is constantly breaking. First is Shep Smith, who is near the Israeli-Lebanon border. Shep?
Greta, we're told Israeli soldiers are on the move and have moved to a different location tonight. I spoke with soldiers who came just off the front line this afternoon, and they told us that the town just across the border, the one right across from Avivim that they took from the very beginning, Maroun al-Ras, is now firmly in control of Israeli soldiers. They tell us, having just come from there, that there are no more Hezbollah fighters there. According to the soldiers, some have been killed, some have been captured and taken and put into jail, and others have run to the north. As a result, the Israeli troops have gone to the next town to the north, the next village. They took the hill on top, the point from which the Hezbollah fighters were overlooking the valley here. And as a result, they hoped that the Katyusha rockets would slow down. That has not been the case. Today, the Katyusha rockets rained across the north of Israel, from Haifa all the way through Kiryat Shmona and across many different towns here. Our bureau again today taking many hits, or at least around it. No one here injured, obviously, and though one house was hit, the vast majority of the population has left, and those who remain behind are in their basements or in their bomb shelters. And tonight there is an eerie calm over this town. We've heard outgoing artillery fire throughout the evening, and at the same time we've heard from the politicians and the diplomats, and it appears, at least for now, that they are not getting a lot accomplished. The hope is that over the next couple of days they'll be able to put together a coalition force. The Israelis hope with some sort of NATO flag over it all, with the French involved and some friendly Muslim nations, to be able to create a buffer zone all along that border. The Israelis say where we have peace, we have buffer zones in Egypt and also with Syria. And now they're hoping for a buffer zone to the north. From the other side of the border, the word is that the incoming strikes continue. Our correspondents in the town of Tyre, which is right along the Mediterranean Sea, all the way to Beirut, say the Israeli airstrikes do continue. In fact, tens of thousands and now even hundreds of thousands of Lebanese are displaced. The Lebanese leader says that they've set the country back 50 years. Largely their infrastructure has been destroyed. The tourism industry has been wiped out throughout this region. To say that there's a humanitarian crisis developing, as the UN would put it, is not an understatement. They're asking for $100 million to get money and supplies into Lebanon, as people, they fear, will be running out of food and running out of water. Greta, across the board, it's just a very bad situation. But Israel goes back to the very beginning. They say 2 of our soldiers were kidnapped. Katyusha rockets by now more than 1,000 raining down on our people. We cannot allow our people to be in that sort of a predicament. What are we supposed to do, say the Israelis? Just sit here and take it and allow them to pound us? They've decided that they have to go across that border and they have to return stability. And at the same time, Hezbollah, according to almost all with whom we speak across the border, including our own correspondents and producers there, Hezbollah is developing more and more support by the day. For they're the ones who are coming in and promising food and help and reconstruction of houses. It's a horrible cycle, though the Israelis do not like to hear the word cycle. It's certainly a cycle of violence unfolding behind us tonight.
Shep, give us a tour of what is behind you, and tell me what's like been the last hour, just to sort of set the stage for those of us who are on the other side of the planet. I mean, what's it like there?
Greta, it's a smoky mess. The Katyusha rockets have set fires throughout the hills. You have to remember, it hasn't rained here since the month of May, and we're approaching the end of the month of July, so it's bone dry. This is the only time of day where there seems to be moisture in the air. When Greta Van Susteren starts coming on and the light begins to shine from behind the Golan Heights, behind the camera, there's a little bit of dew in the air, and sometimes that taps the fires down, but there are multiple fires burning in the hills. There's smoke in the air. We hear the artillery fire, and occasionally on the hill behind me, though the cameras really aren't sensitive enough to see it, you can see the flash of artillery fire and weapons on the other side. When I was talking to the first soldiers to speak to television cameras since all of this began, after coming back from the war on the other side, spoke to us this afternoon. And they were telling us of an absolutely incredible firefight. Young soldiers, 18, 19, 20 years old, who were 12, 13, 14 years old when the Israelis pulled out of Lebanon in the year 2000. So we heard the stories of these Shia fighters, of these Lebanese fighters, actually of Hezbollah fighters on the other side of the border. We heard what tough fighters they are. We heard that they're willing to fight to the death. But to a man, and we spoke to many of them today, they say we had no idea that the fight could be so furious. They spoke of people coming out of houses and out of basements with Kalashnikov rifles and firing off indiscriminately, of bombs raining in from other neighborhoods, actually from other villages around, and not even knowing where to shoot. They're in their tanks and going in, trying to restore order there and establish this buffer zone, and young soldiers coming out with their eyes just as wide as you can imagine, and literally almost shocked by what it is that they've seen on the other side. Does that mean that their resolve is diminished? We got no sign of that. Did they seem to be, once they got out of the war zone, frightened and not wanting to go back? Far from it. The Israeli troops say they are absolutely determined to restore order to the north of their country. And on the other side of the border, don't for a moment think that Hezbollah fighters are backing down in any way. Their leader on the other side of the border says, we are in this thing for the long haul. They have made it their stated goal to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And, well, very much is up in the air tonight.
Shep, is there any sense that they think they've made progress, or is this just sort of the endless battle, that this will go on forever?
If you're talking about the Israelis, they say, in fact, they have made progress. Officially, they say that they've wiped out more than 50% of Hezbollah's capabilities, that they are working tirelessly to restore order. But think about it. We've been at this thing for 12 days. Not that that's a long time in the grand scheme of things. It certainly isn't. But they're not fighting an organized army, if you will. They're fighting guerrillas on the other side, and they've established a buffer zone over these 12 days, at least in a small part of that border. Yet Katyusha rockets continue to rain in. If the goal is to stop the Katyusha rockets, they have not accomplished it. They are as furious and coming in the exact same numbers today that they were coming in 12 days ago. And speaking of 12 days, it was 1967 when the Israeli military, with all their force and all their might, were in 6 days able to wipe out 3 separate armies. It's now been 12 days, and they don't seem, at least from the observer's eye, to have been able to make even a single dent. It's one thing to line up armies side to side, and the Israelis have all of this firepower and artillery and jets screaming overhead, and the other side would have, in 1967, wiped out. Today they're fighting a force that it's almost impossible to fight. They don't play by any rules. They hide in bunkers, and they're ready to die in suicide missions. The creators of the suicide bombers are those against whom they're fighting. And Israel admits tonight, as they have throughout, this is a very, very tough slog. And this thing, Greta, unless diplomats step in and create some sort of miracle, this thing is far from over.
All right, Shep, we'll stay right there. We're going to check back with you in a moment. And, of course, this war is changing even by the second. And now to Beirut, where there is big news tonight. Right now, there are violent clashes in Lebanese border towns as Israeli troops are trying to take more villages, focusing on the town nicknamed the capital of the resistance. Greg Burke is live in Beirut. Greg?
Hi, Greta. Well, it was a risky mission for Condoleezza Rice here in more than one way, even for physical safety. Sort of no surprise that they kept the visit under wraps until she was here. Americans have been really a primary target over the years here. The embassy here is an absolute bunker. So it was a surprise that she even got here to Lebanon. Rice was here for only a few hours. She saw the Prime Minister. She saw some other officials trying to lay the groundwork for peace and also get the aid flowing. More on that later. Meanwhile, Lots of fire exchange down their entire flashpoint, the southern city, Israeli helicopters, planes firing on the city, while at the same time Hezbollah rockets firing out of the town towards Israel. And at the same time, you have people coming up, displaced, going into Tyre, others from Tyre trying to get further north. So a total mess there. UN Relief Chief Jan Egeland says lots of aid is urgently needed.
We will, in that 3-month period, ask for $150 million, about 10 million of those for work for those who have fled from Lebanon to Syria. The 800,000 that are affected in the country, including refugees, including internally displaced, including other desperately war-affected people.
Now, not far from Tyre, the Red Cross says 2 of its vehicles were fired upon as they were bringing the wounded to safety. We don't have any confirmation that actually happened, this amateur video here, but they say that is what happened as they were trying to get people out of the war zone. Now, finally, Greta, there's a bit of a humanitarian mess here, not only food and water, but also housing. If the higher estimates are accurate of the number of people been displaced, it's nearly 1 out of 5 people in Lebanon who are out of their homes. So you've got people fleeing north from even here in Beirut. You've got people in the south coming up here. You've got a situation where people are looking for any empty homes possible. You're going to see a lot of squatters, a lot of surprises when people finally do get back to their homes and find someone else living in them. Greta?
Greg, is there evidence, have you seen anything of Hezbollah using civilians as shields?
There's not direct evidence of that here, but there's certainly plenty of indirect. The fact that the Israelis are going after these neighborhoods, which are so heavily Hezbollah related here in Beirut, more in the south, I think that's a real danger of people setting up something on the roofs, and this happened to a long history of that, even in the civil war of Lebanon, of people setting up weapons on the roof. That someone was telling me here of their home. They could say nothing. They're basically forced to leave because they're afraid their home then becomes a target, which the Israelis have said and have warned people that does happen. Greta?
Greg, thank you. At this hour, anything could happen right before our eyes. Rockets explode on Israeli towns, and some Israeli soldiers are dying, while others fight in ground raids in Lebanese villages. What can Israel do? Joining us here in D.C. is Israeli Ambassador to the United States, Danny Ayalon. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Why do they hate you so much?
Well, that's a good question. I think they're brainwashed pretty much, and they're being used by other forces like Iran, who wants to push their agenda. And actually, they don't just hate us. They hate the moderate Arab countries. They hate you as Americans. They hate everything which is Western. They hate everything which is not extreme radical Islamists. And they see Israel as, let's say, as a bastion of Western civilization in the heart of the Middle East. They would like the entire Middle East to become Islamic as a springboard to make Europe Islamic, Central Republics of Asia, and ultimately the United States. Well, we will not let them, will we?
Well, I suppose that, I mean, I've seen what Israel is willing to, to settle for, but the bottom line is they still exist, even under what you're proposing. They're just disarmed, but they still exist, and they have a mission to destroy you. That seems like maybe a short-term resolution, but what about the long term?
Well, the long term really is to take Lebanon and give it back to the Lebanese. If there is a regime in Lebanon with a solid political structure, with military capabilities, with the monopoly only governed by a central power in Beirut, then they can take care of Hezbollah. If Hezbollah becomes a political party, is it desirable? No. But we would let the Lebanese take care of them. And I believe when all the dust is settled, the Lebanese themselves, certainly the Christian, Maronites, the Druze, the Shiites, and most of the Sunnis and most of the Shiites, would put the blame squarely at Hezbollah. And
so
I think this is the dynamics that we want to see after it's all done.
So you think the evolution would be that Hezbollah, the political and the military, eventually be sort of phased out of the Lebanese government and Lebanese culture? That's what you think is going to happen?
Absolutely. And also to detach Lebanon and Hezbollah from the influence of Iran and of Syria.
How do you do that?
Well, first of all, by winning this war. And we have to win this war. And I tell you, Greta, I'm quite dismayed at some calls. Basically, I hear it at some at the UN. At the one hand, they call us for an early ceasefire. At the other hand, they call for quote-unquote restraint. Well, that doesn't go together. It takes us long because we are restrained.
Well, actually, I mean, frankly, I can understand why you'd be disappointed. With 1559, you got nothing out of that one,
right.
And that was a UN resolution. So, I mean, I'm not surprised that that your country is disappointed with the UN. I think a lot of people are, because that wasn't enforced.
Absolutely. And by the way, there was a previous resolution, 425, from 1978, which we completed our part of the bargain when we pulled completely out of Lebanon to the last square inch. We got a clean bill from the UN. With the international border recognized.
And being right, though, isn't always necessarily the solution, because the problem is that being right on this, you've still got the problem is that there's so many civilians are being killed in Lebanon, is that the public opinion isn't necessarily going to sway away from you as more civilians are killed. Do you agree?
Greta, this is a very good point. In modern wars, any war, especially when you fight a very cowardly organization like Hezbollah or Al-Qaeda, these terror organizations which specifically hide behind civilian targets. Part of the considerations of any operation of the commanders in the field is the media. Has never been a media as a factor in military planning before, but now it is, and you're right, and we should not neglect this war because they are waging a PR or a propaganda war against us, and we have to be ready for it. And
but even if the media weren't there, when all the dust is settled, they see the numbers, who died, who didn't. It could be devastating if it turns out that there are a tremendous amount of civilians who die in the war.
Yes, but it will not be. Although every civilian, is a loss, and we regret it. Many civilians in Israel died. There were more civilians in Israel who died than soldiers in this war. But still, we have to understand that some of the rules are being imposed and enforced on us by the Hezbollah. And we have been very, very careful. The fact, we are using a fraction of our firepower because we do not want to cause any undue damage. We are going specifically after Hezbollah targets. And I have to tell you that if Hezbollah is sitting in homes and in mosques, and we see that, they have caches of rockets and Katyushas in mosques and in homes, whether it's in Beirut, in what is called the Forbidden City. Hezbollah confiscated the entire southern part of Beirut, calling it the Forbidden City because nobody could go in and out, even government, police. So we are taking only Hezbollah. Now, there are some civilians who, in their homes, have launchers, who have communication rooms, and other things. We have tried to warn them before we took them on. 24 hours we gave them notice, at the risk of compromising the mission itself, because when we pre-warned them, Hezbollah was also pre-warned and kind of left and came back. So any casualty should be, is the responsibility of the Hezbollah, and I believe by and large the Lebanese do understand it. By and large, the people in the Middle East will understand it.
Ambassador, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Shep is live at the Israel-Lebanon border. Shep?
Greta was listening to your conversation with the ambassador there, and it certainly makes sense from a Western perspective that the people across the border would blame Hezbollah for this and not the Israelis. But I think from listening to our correspondents there and all of the dispatches we're getting out of the south of Lebanon, that's not the reality on the ground. The ambassador knows, as we all do, that the vast majority of the voters in the south of Lebanon have voted for Hezbollah as part of the government. They occupy 1/3 of the power of the government within Lebanon, and part of the reason for that is they're far from the center of the country. They are poorer and disenfranchised in large part, and just as is the case with other regimes of this kind, where you have a militaristic arm and you have a social services and political arm, it's the social services that are provided by Hezbollah on the other side of the border that make them popular with the poor and disenfranchised people in the south. It is an absolute that the people in the south trust Hezbollah much more than they do the central government, which is very weak at this point and has been since it was established there, and that they do not blame Israel for this, they blame Hezbollah. Now, whether that is accurate or not is something for somebody to interpret. I'm telling you what the facts are on the ground, and those on the ground say, we blame Israel for this conflict. be that as it may, the fighting continues, and there are many here, including our veteran Mideast correspondent Jennifer Griffin, who question whether the next election might in fact bring a Hezbollah-dominated government, in fact a Hezbollah government, creating another sort of state in this region, which Israel does not wish to have as a neighbor.
Shep, I want to bring the viewers back up to date. Tell them where you're standing, what's going on. Have you heard any rockets in the last hour? And how does this 24-hour period compare to the last 24-hour period?
Well, for viewers at home, it may seem like a little bit more of the same. Katyusha rockets raining in, the Israeli artillery firing from over here, behind the mountain behind me. Israeli forces have moved on. They've left the village. Well, they haven't left it. They control one village and are now moving. Consider it's a sliver in the middle of a 50-mile or so long border, which begins with the sea, goes all the way to Israel, and that's the line. Above that, Hezbollah has been in charge for the past 6 years. Think of this enemy. Jennifer Griffin talks about in the year 2000, when Israel came out of Lebanon, she interviewed Hezbollah fighters at the time, who told her on camera, and we have the tape thereof, we will be fighting and preparing for the day when this conflict begins again. And they have, and they've entrenched themselves there. They have positions and ammunition and support of the locals, and the locals are providing them a place from which they can fire and a place where they can sleep at night and get away from the bombs. This thing is far from over, and the outcome at this point is very much uncertain. Is there a possibility that a multinational force will be able to come in there and reestablish peace and allow negotiations to take place, as Condoleezza Rice says, not for the false promise of a quick ceasefire, but instead of that, for long-term peace? That's very much up in the air tonight. It's certainly the goal of the people of Israel to establish a peace there, and it must be the goal of the vast majority of Lebanese citizens to come up with a way where there can be peace on both sides of the border. After all, they're getting rained down on the other side of the border as well. But there are no signs of that just yet, Greta. The artillery fire's going out, the Katyusha rockets are coming in, the Israeli jets are screaming overhead, and there is very much a war around us right now. It may not be a declared war, as it were, but there is a war underway, and it shows no signs of abating.
All right, let's bring in the retired generals, retired Major General Don Edwards and Bob Scales. General Edwards, it's one thing to win on the ground, another thing to win on the air, but this whole idea of having some of the long-termers, the civilians need to be with you. How do you, from a military perspective, minimize killing civilians?
Well, I think there's a couple of things, and the Israelis have done some of it. One of the things that you have to constantly do is to warn the civilians, not just in the beginning, but constantly, that there is a war, you're coming in there and you're going to fight a war, and if they shelter Hezbollah in any way, shape, or form, they put themselves in harm's way. And I think that has to be a continuing campaign for the Israelis.
But where do they go? What do they do? Where do they go? That's the problem. You've got millions, thousands of people. They've got to go someplace.
They have got to go north. I mean, unless somebody runs a boat up on the beach and says, here's a boat, which isn't going to happen, they have got to migrate north. And the Israelis have got to pick and choose what vehicles they shoot at, and they've made a couple of mistakes there, which are understandable in terms of letting them get out of there. But the problem is they're not all going to get out of there, and there will be civilian casualties. There always are in these kinds of events. And it's as risky and as awful as that sounds, it's the reality. So the Israelis have a real challenge in terms of helping the world to understand that that will happen, because there is a war. People are shooting 100 rockets into Israel a day and killing people in Israel, and it works both ways.
General Scales, any thoughts? Because, it seems it seems easier to fight an army on an open field than you've got them when they're hiding in houses and tunnels and putting civilians up. You've got to win fast, but you've also got the bigger problems. What do you do?
Well, I think 2 points, Greta. First of all, this is an insurgency. This is not an open, traditional type of warfare. And anytime you take an insurgency, you take the rheostat, if you will, and you turn it down. Counterinsurgencies, taking on insurgents is essentially a war in slow motion. It has to be methodical. It has to be precise. The fire has to be has to be able to discriminate between good guys and bad guys. And so a lot, I think, of what Shep is seeing is war in slow motion. We talked about 100 rockets coming south. We talked about 200 to 300 sorties a day going north. That sounds like a lot, but this is a type of war that both sides can continue almost without let-up for weeks, if not months, because it is a war at a slower pace.
Shep, Larry Swinford from Springfield, Missouri sent an email, a question. He wanted to know what the tunnels and bunkers are like. Any idea what Hezbollah is hiding out in? Have the Israeli soldiers told you to describe them at all?
They have. I haven't been over there, so I don't know, but the Israeli soldiers describe it as a place where for 6 years, their enemy have been figuring out ways to trick and trap the Israelis if they ever came back across that border. They say that there's camouflage and there are hiding places along every corner. Largely, this is fought in the open air. Israeli forces are in there trying to hold territory, and they're not, in all cases, receiving hand-to-hand combat, but they're receiving bombs and rockets coming in from areas to the north and the west and the east. And some of these young soldiers say, just looking up, we don't know where all of this is coming from. We don't have anyone to fire at. One of them was saying, you know, the F-16s have to fight from the air and the artillery has to fight from beyond the border. Here we are just trying to hold something. These young guys who in some cases just appeared a little bit shell-shocked. Not to say their resolve isn't strong, it was.
There are 2 helicopters that have gone down, Israeli helicopters. The Jerusalem Post is saying that it's obviously being investigated, General Edwards, but one of the things that they are looking at is shoulder-to-air missiles, whether Hezbollah has that. Does that change the dynamic? If it turns out their shoulder-to-air missiles make a big deal in the fighting, change the dynamic significantly?
It changes the dynamic for the helicopters, yes, because they have to be more careful. They have to fly their missions in a certain envelope, and they can't loiter.
They can still come in and help and provide support.
But they can't loiter over the battlefield. They can't sit there over a village and hose it down if somebody pops up and starts shooting at the Israeli infantry. They've got to come in and make a pass and get out and take defensive measures. And Hezbollah probably does have missiles to use against helicopters.
General Scales, are you surprised at least the level of how strong Hezbollah has shown this far? I mean, it seems like they've got an awful lot of rockets, an awful lot of firepower.
You know, I guess what surprises me, Greta, is, and I'd like to pass this on to Shep, is it seems like Hezbollah not only have they entrenched and dug their bunkers and so forth, but they seem to have a pattern to their defense. My sense is that they build a series of strong points around villages like Bint Jabal and other. Then they have what in essence is a rocket ridge. That's the top of that ridge back there behind Shep, where they put their observation posts, they put their command and control facilities, and then behind those ridge lines, some distance farther north, is what is oftentimes called a rocket belt. And that's where the actual launchers are. And Shep, I guess my question to you, they seem to have taken the strong points. They seem to have now moved up to the crest of the hill, to take Rocket Ridge. Do you get a sense that now they're thinking about moving further north to actually take on the rocket launchers themselves?
They say they absolutely do not want to move farther north. They want to create a buffer zone in there. They want to hold that buffer zone, and they hope that the F-16s from above and these artillery positions will be able to take out the rockets that are coming from the north. But recent history says that they may not find that to be successful, because in the original plan here, the original hope was that the firepower from the air and from the ground on this side of the border would take it out. It didn't work, and as they move north, the fear is that they'll keep dragging them to the north, and they'll end up all the way up in Beirut. And then you have an area that you occupy it, you have to hold it, you have to defend it, and they don't want that.
Right.
And that changes everything if they get pulled in, doesn't it?
Oh, it certainly does.
Absolutely.
You go back, Greta, to the problem that they had when they were there for 18 years. You're occupiers, everybody hates you, and how do you get rid of that tar baby?
That's terrible. General Scales, General Edwards, Shep, thank you all. And of course, the news is changing right now. Shep is live in the middle of it all every single day, and you can see Shep right here on the Fox Report and Studio B. Hezbollah is stunning many. It is not giving up. It has lots and lots and lots of weapons and expresses rage and determination to fight Israel. But now, a sobering thought. Is Hezbollah a threat to others, including us here at home? Plus, how deep are Iran and Syria in this? And does this mean this is bigger than we might think? We'll talk to former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger.
Start a summer romance that lasts a lifetime. The Mercedes-Benz Summer Event. Cruise into your local authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for great lease and financing offers on select models.
We have got to cut costs, people. Ideas.
We could open an account on FedEx.com, save 15% on online express shipping.
Okay, how about this? We open an account on FedEx.com, we save 15% on online express shipping.
That is wonderful. You just said the same thing I said, only you did this.
No, I did this.
Makes all the difference.
Bingo.
That's good.
Right on the nose.
That's really good.
On the season premiere of 30 Days, go inside the issue tearing America apart. Immigration.
If this is not the beginning of a revolution, I don't know what is.
What happens when a border patrolling Minuteman spends 30 days with a family of illegal immigrants?
I do not give up my country for nobody.
No license?
That's the way they do it. That's the way I'm going to do it.
No passport.
We're not criminals. I'm a great asset to this country.
No safety net.
There comes a time when you love people for who they are.
30 Days, an all-new season, Wednesday at 10, only on FX.
Ask me.
Ask me. If I don't bring it up, you bring it up.
Let's not wait until you've lost any more bone.
Let's not wait till you break a bone.
You're a busy woman.
Osteoporosis is serious business because it can get worse. But bone loss can be reversed. Fosamax Plus D treats postmenopausal osteoporosis. It actually helps reverse bone loss. It helps prevent hip and spine fractures. Plus, it's got vitamin D.
You shouldn't use Fosamax Plus D if you have certain disorders of the esophagus.
You have to be able to stand or sit upright for 30 minutes.
If you have severe kidney disease or low blood calcium, you shouldn't take Fosamax Plus D. It's not for vitamin D deficiency.
Tell me about your stomach and digestive problems and your medications. Vitamins and supplements, too.
Stop taking Fosamax Plus D and call me right away if you get heartburn or it gets worse, or swallowing becomes difficult or painful, or if you have chest pain. These could be signs of serious upper digestive problems.
So call me. Make an appointment. Give me a call. We'll talk about it.
Ask me. Ask me about Fosamax Plus D. Bone loss can be reversed. Ask me. Dad, is it just over the ridge?
What's over there?
The kids are growing up, and retirement is getting closer. Will we be ready? Really ready? As in, we don't have to live out here in the woods and eat berries ready?
For 150 years, people have been working with Northwestern Mutual to put their minds at ease. Northwestern Mutual. Insurance, investments, ideas.
You were looking live at a huge crater in Tyre, Lebanon. That's what's left of the road after an Israeli warplane sends a missile at a Hezbollah stronghold. And that's just one picture of the devastation this violent fighting is causing. What does it look like on the other side of the border? Let's head straight to Rick Leventhal, who is live in Kiryat Shimona. Rick?
Greta, it looks eerie here. This beautiful area has been transformed by this war that's raging just over the border. This is a part of the country of Israel that a lot of people would use as a vacation spot. Some of the people who work in our Jerusalem bureau would come up here for long weekends, they told me. It's mountains and green valleys, and it's really a beautiful spot, but it's now shrouded with smoke much of the time because these Katyusha rockets that come over the hills hit the dry ground and just start fires everywhere. Walked out of the hotel this morning and heard the streak of a rocket and looked on the ridge line and saw a mushroom cloud rising from that ridge, and then heard the thud. The folks here, many of them have left. The ones who are still here, many of them are in hiding. So it's a bit of a ghost town, and many of the towns along the northern Israeli border are the same way. People have gotten out. A lot of the stores are closed. The streets are virtually empty. One of our cameramen here, an Israeli cameraman, grew up here in this town and told us that, in fact, his parents love it here so much they didn't want to leave. They refused to leave. And his father was sitting out in the yard today in a lawn chair, and one of these Katyusha rockets came down and blew up very close by. And the shrapnel, a piece of it actually went between his legs. He wasn't cut. He wasn't hurt. But after that, he decided, you know what, enough's enough. And he packed up his car, and he and his wife got out of town.
Rick, when you say they get out of town, I mean, I'm having a hard time understanding where everybody's going, because it seems like every report we talk about talks about everyone leaving. Where are these people going?
Well, they're going to the south, for the most part. You know, the further away you get from the border, the less likely you're going to be victim to one of these rockets. They have a limited range. They can't really be guided. We did hear of a Zilzal rocket being fired today, which is a longer range rocket, about the longest range rocket that the Hezbollah guerrillas have in their arsenal. But those also aren't guided very accurately, and that one fell into the Haifa Bay. You know, I was talking to my cameraman, Christian Galdabini, earlier. He and I were embedded together in Iraq during the war. And we're out here listening to the thud of these artillery, these howitzer cannons firing artillery across the border. And it's striking because that's what we remembered from the war, that constant thud of the artillery. And yet the setting is so different, Greta, but many of the problems, unfortunately, are the same.
In terms of compare and contrast for us, because you do have that unique experience. You were in Iraq. I mean, how's it different for you?
Well, the setting is very different, obviously. And we're not with the troops here so much. You know, we're in the town, we're with the people, but there are very few people left. You know, Shep spent some time with the troops today at the border, and we do see them from time to time, you know, driving through or hanging out at different locations. They come here to our live location from time to time, but it doesn't have the feel of a war here, but it has the sound of a war.
All right, Rick, thank you. Right now, a new report from the Jerusalem Post. Israeli intelligence says Hezbollah's sleeper cells are set up outside Lebanon, waiting for a green light to attack. Joining us here in Washington is Mark Ginsburg, former U.S. ambassador to Morocco. Ambassador, sleeper cells, where?
Greta, if Americans needed to have any reminder that Hezbollah is at war with the United States, one just has to bring up one name, Imad Mughniyeh. He is the head of the chief of military operations for Hezbollah. He has been responsible for coordinating a worldwide network of Hezbollah cells in Europe, Latin America, Canada, and the United States. And most importantly, he is the direct link between Hezbollah and al-Qaeda in Iran.
Where is, I take it, is he in Lebanon? Is that the thought that he's there now?
He has been on our most wanted list, the FBI most wanted list, for almost 30 years, from the time that the U.S. Embassy in Beirut was attacked, to the Marine barracks attack, all the way through the assassinations of American diplomats and military attachés in the Middle East. Mughniyeh's bloody hands are on this. We don't know where he is. He was cited, believe it or not, Greta, just a few weeks ago when President Ahmadinejad visited Damascus and met with President Assad. There were some press reports that Mughniyeh was at that meeting or met with President Ahmadinejad.
Is he the architect of this all, architect of the violence going back to us losing our Marines? Is this the man?
He is the grand architect of Hezbollah's suicide terrorism. He is the master terrorist of all time.
How old is he? What do you know about him?
Well, he was born in southern Lebanon to a Shiite family. He originally got his training from, guess who? Yasser Arafat. 417, he was Arafat's first major assassin. He then formed Islamic Jihad, which became the shadow terror group for Hezbollah in order to protect Hezbollah's image as a political organization. And he himself, right now, the only pictures that we have, and he's on that FBI most wanted list, is over 20 years old.
Sleeper cells here in the United States?
Well, there are reports, including those that I've contacted from friends in the FBI, that there have been some sleeper cells organized by Hezbollah. But Greta, those cells that we have captured here have been largely gun-running, cigarette smuggling, fundraising organizations. They haven't been, per se, directly tied to terrorism or terrorist plotting in the United States.
So when we say sleeper cells, we are saying people who claim to be Hezbollah, but who may not have any sort of plan to strike here in the United States, but maybe raising money and sending it back in some form? Is that? Well,
let me get a little bit more careful here, because down in Latin America, where the borders of Paraguay, Brazil, and Argentina meet, there are 30,000 Muslims, most of whom are Hezbollah supporters. That is the base that Mughniyeh uses in order to finance, as well as to fund and find and train terrorists that are in the American, in North America and Latin America.
Why can't we find this leader of Hezbollah? Why, for 30 years?
We have come so goddamn close, but yet every time we've come close, the CIA and the FBI have come to nab him. He has escaped the dragnet, sometimes at the connivance of Arab governments, believe it or not.
What would it mean if we got him?
It would be a master shattering of the entire global Hezbollah terrorist structure. There is no doubt that Sheikh Nasrallah depends on him. He has orchestrated every military operation, including, most likely, the abduction of the Israeli soldiers that triggered this latest war.
It's hard for me to believe that the Israelis couldn't find him. I mean, this has been their full-time, around-the-clock dealing with this issue for years. Why can't they find him?
Greta, if anyone asks why can't we find Osama bin Laden, I always bring up Imad Mughniyeh, to remind people that for 30 years he's been hunted down by the Israelis and by the United States, and we still haven't been able to apprehend him.
So, what?
The bottom line is that this guy, the bottom line is we keep looking for him because there's a lot of people who would like to put a plug right between his eyes.
Quick 30 seconds on where Rick was reporting from. You recognize that area?
Well, that's where my family lived, up above the ridges of Kiryat Shmona. There's several kibbutzim, and they are the front line in the battle against Hezbollah. Unfortunately, those kibbutzim have been under attack.
Indeed. Ambassador, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Secretary Rice touches down in Lebanon today. She is scrambling to try to stop this war, but it's not easy. The Lebanese Prime Minister told Secretary Rice that Israel's attacks are taking his country backwards 50 years. Let's bring in former Secretary of State Henry Kissinger. Welcome, Dr. Kissinger.
Good to be here.
Dr. Kissinger, I know that Secretaries of State aren't in the business of giving each other advice, but can you give us some sort of guidance about this task that faces our current Secretary of State?
I think that Secretary Rice is doing exactly the right thing. She's calling for a ceasefire, and she's calling for tying it to conditions which would make a resumption of the war impossible and which would remove the causes of this latest flare-up. And that's the only reliable way to end this conflict. She's talking to the Arabs, and she's also now talking to the Israelis, and then she'll go to a general conference. I think she's doing the right thing.
It seems clear from what she's proposing that the Israelis would be content to have that, just to stop this violence and to at least have some security. The problem is getting Hezbollah to agree. How do you get Hezbollah to agree?
Well, Hezbollah has been armed and supported and encouraged by the Iranians. It is really, in a way, a foreign implant on Lebanese territory, at least in its military incarnation. It seems to me that when the Israelis have destroyed the military capacity of Hezbollah in the south, that then it should be replaced by some kind of, well, preferably by a Lebanese army that is capable of controlling the territory, and then perhaps by some outside forces. I've heard NATO forces mentioned. And that seems to me the way to do it. Hezbollah is only about a third of the Lebanese population.
Well, if Hezbollah refuses to give up its arms, and in the short run the Lebanese army can't get the arms away from them, and if Iran seems to be sort of the one behind the scenes fueling this for Hezbollah, we don't talk to Iran. Is there any way we can get to some other country to lean on Iran to help with this?
No, the president has offered to include Iran in the negotiations about the nuclear weapons problem. And from there, it would seem to me inevitable that some political discussions take place at all. But I would warn against making this sharp distinction between diplomacy and military force. I noticed, for example, that the Iranian president has curbed his excessive rhetoric since the war in Lebanon started, and it's conceivable to me, and in fact likely, that the Iranians are learning that there is a limit to provocative behavior, and that at some point penalties have to be paid. And at that point, and I think we're reaching that point, a wider negotiation can take place. But, it's not the usual thing to say on these talk shows. I think Secretary Rice is doing essentially the right thing.
Do you have any, she's maybe doing the right thing, but she may have the most incredible task in front of her, one that no one else has been able to conquer in the past. But is it likely to prevail?
No, I think it's going to be a difficult task, but we have noticed in the last week that that Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Jordan have more or less supported the American position and have not taken the side of the extremists in Lebanon. That's an unusual situation. I am quite convinced that Secretary Rice will find support in the Arab world. These things are always look unmanageable when they explode, and if we stick with it, and if we remain calm, and if we continue on pursuing the right course, which is to put an end to the conditions that produced the war, to resist the people that started this for primarily in order to hold American policy as hostage, then we can move from there rapidly and decisively into more general negotiations, which we should do.
It sounds like you're optimistic. I mean, you may be the first one I've spoken to in a while who is optimistic, but you sound optimistic that this will turn out, at least just despite the fact there's loss of life, which I acknowledge. But
it's a very unpleasant situation, and one's heart goes out to the victims on both sides. But in terms of an analysis of strategy, I believe that the situation is moving in a potentially positive direction.
And do you want to put any timetables on it? I mean, any sort of, for those of us who are listening, when do you think this is likely to resolve? And I know it's probably the unthinkable question.
My guess would be that within 2 weeks, we will be well on the way to a ceasefire, if not have achieved a ceasefire. Then we will have to turn to the problem of the nuclear weapons in Iran. And
that'll be their next step.
And Iran will have to face a decision down the road whether it is a cause or a nation, whether it is a crusade or whether it wants to live in peace with its neighbors. If they want to do that, we should facilitate it.
And I hope you come back to talk about that. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Our cameras will take you right back to the middle of this war so you can see and hear it live. War is violent and unscripted. Our next guest is in the middle of this war. The editor of the Beirut newspaper doesn't get more inside than this, nor more disturbing. Don't go away. You want to hear this.
Because Fox is where the news is.
To help get all the fruits and vegetables the USDA recommends, you could wear this. Or drink this. 1 8-ounce glass of Florida orange juice counts as almost 25% of your fruit and vegetable servings. Florida orange juice. Healthy, pure, and simple.
Vacations are the perfect place to lose your inhibitions. And the worst place to lose your money. Get American Express Traveler's Checks, and you also get a $500 discount card. Good for great deals on hotel rates, airfares, and more. Get it before August 31st.
What are you going to get there?
The Ford Freestyle crossover. More than 500 miles on a tank of gas.
Thanks for inviting me this weekend. Sure. All right, guys. I'll see you next week.
Bye, Dad. Bye, Dad.
Bye.
Bold moves, they happen every day.
Are oil companies thinking ahead?
Oil companies have an obligation to try to develop things to be cleaner, safer, and better for the environment. And if that means expanding their product line to have alternative types of fuels, whether it be wind, hydrogen, solar, whatever it may be. And I'm not an engineer, so I don't have the answer.
Had it with slow downloads? With Comcast high-speed internet, there's no waiting for downloads or a great deal. Call 1-800-COMCAST and save big during our $1 sale. Get 1 month of blazing fast Comcast high-speed internet service for just $1. Free modem lease for 1 full year and professional installation for only $10. Save over $175. Hurry, the $1 sale ends August 7th. So call 1-800-COMCAST today.
Business owners and managers have found a new alternative to old-fashioned, high-priced, classified help-wanted ads. They're using PortlandJobFinder.com.
We've had great results using PortlandJobFinder.com. It's cost-effective, and there's a great resume flow. We particularly like the online submission of resumes so that we can review and properly screen the prospects.
There are no deadlines and no waiting for tomorrow's newspaper. Find the job applicants you need fast. It's free for job seekers and good for business.
24/7. Come.
New Prudential real estate signs.
Now with Yahoo, very powerful. You'll need to reload.
More than usual.
Our exclusive relationship with Yahoo Real Estate has produced this. Now you can show your home sellers how many buyers are looking in their neighborhood, in their price range.
Even viewing their home online.
The future of real estate is in your hands.
Prudential Real Estate and Yahoo together. The future of real estate now.
VHIX.com helps people find the car they want at a dealer near them. How do we improve that user experience?
Include a vanity mirror so people can get an idea of how they look in their new car. Give them a free VHIX comb, too.
And your idea?
VHIX TV. Not just web pages. Cool video test drives powered by Wheels TV.
Cool video test drives now at VHIX.com. Just click Autos on Comcast.net.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Harris Faulkner. A car bomber strikes in Afghanistan, seriously wounding at least 2 coalition soldiers. The bomber ramming a convoy on a main highway headed toward the capital city of Kabul. The military not saying yet who the victims are or what country they come from. President Bush set to meet with the leader of a Sudanese rebel group. The president meeting at the White House with Mini Manawi, the head of the only rebel group to sign a peace agreement with Sudan's government. They're expected to talk about how to broaden support for peace in the violent Darfur region. There's progress to report in the struggle to get the lights turned back on in St. Louis, Missouri. Utility workers saying 90% of the people who lost power could have the electricity back on tomorrow, with the rest getting theirs restored Wednesday. Powerful storms knocked out service to much of that city last week. A pill taken to prevent breast cancer in women with a high risk of getting the illness does not appear to save any lives in the long run. That's according to a new study. Researchers saying women with the highest risk of breast cancer don't appear to live any longer if they take tamoxifen. They also say for women with a lower risk for the disease, the sometimes serious side effects outweigh the benefits. Our next news break is just after the top of the hour. On the Record, Greta Van Susteren continues after the break. For all the latest headlines, go to foxnews.com. You're watching the most powerful name in news. Your source for fair and balanced news, Fox News Channel.
We're looking live at the border separating Israel and Lebanon, where battles rage on the ground. Lots of death, and it continues. Plus, beautiful Beirut is nearly destroyed. Hezbollah won't give up, and neither will Israel. Joining us live in Beirut is Maysam Zarora, the editor of the Daily Star Legend. Welcome.
Hi, Greta. Thanks for having me.
Maysam, describe the humanitarian situation in Beirut.
Well, right now, after 13 days of fighting, we have 377 people dead in Lebanon. And to comment on what you said earlier, they have been identified. 19 of those are actually Hezbollah fighters. And the rest, if you're watching the news and Googling and have internet, a lot of them are actually women and children who are dying, and these are people who have been fleeing their homes because of the Israeli shelling. The displaced situation, according to UN figures right now, is 750,000 people, a lot of those with no homes to go back to. And these people have been displaced because Israel has expressly come out and said, the Prime Minister has said that they are going to displace these people to put pressure on Lebanon and the Lebanese government and Hezbollah. Apart from that, there are over 1,000 people wounded as well.
Do you have any idea how big the numbers of Hezbollah?
You mean the people who have died?
No, just a total membership in Hezbollah. How big is it? Any idea?
It's a pretty big group, thousands. I'm not entirely sure, no.
Do you know if we move close to a resolution between Israel and Hezbollah, do you have any sense whether the Shiite members of the Lebanese army would be willing to deploy to disarm Hezbollah?
I think everyone would be willing to disarm Hezbollah if the Lebanese are actually left to themselves to work with this group and disarm. Hezbollah has not said that it does not want to disarm. We are simply trying to find a defense strategy against any Israeli offensive of the kind that's happening today. So yes, the Shiites, the Sunnis, the Muslims, the Christians, the Druze, they're all willing to work towards disarming Hezbollah, even Hezbollah themselves, as long as we have reassurance that what is happening right now is not going to continue happening.
What's it been like for you the last 12, 13 days?
It's been awful. It's been unbelievably awful. I can't believe that my country is being destroyed like this. The people are dying. The world is standing silent while Israel takes it upon itself to implement a resolution that is really up to the Lebanese government and the international community to work on and implement diplomatically. So it's just a little bit surreal right now what's happening in Lebanon, and the fact that the whole world actually isn't doing anything about it.
Maysam, thank you very much, and I hope you'll come back, and I hope this resolves quickly for all of you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Coming up, war. It's real. Well, terribly disturbing. Our cameras can put you right there. What is it like to be in the middle of the war? You will know next.
Office Depot, a leader in mobile technology, has an all-in-one notebook bundle to help you go wireless wherever your work life takes you. Now, the HP Pavilion Notebook Bundle with Intel Centrino mobile technology comes with an HP printer, wireless mouse, and an extra battery for only $899.99 after mail-in savings. Pick up yours today. Taking care of business.
Feeling better?
I'm getting there. But I do feel good that we have Aflac.
Glad I asked about it at work.
I'm glad it's helping pay the bills.
Electric bill, house payments, even Michelle's education. Helps with just about any bills our health insurance doesn't cover.
Aflac. Ask about it at work.
How do you measure a company? Do you look at where they've been? Do you look at what they've done? At Citgo, we're not resting on our past. We're looking forward to the future. Providing steady, secure access to the largest liquid reserves in the Western Hemisphere. Today and for generations to come.
Today, a soldier sees a snapshot of the terrain, a pilot an image of the airspace, the commander a view of the mission. But they're all part of a bigger picture. That's why Boeing is helping create a remarkable network to gather and analyze data from every source, then deliver the right information instantly. So the bigger picture is a safer world. Boeing, forever new frontiers.
This morning, I found out I'm going to jail. This morning, I got kicked by a mule. Hard.
This morning, my boyfriend left me for my mother.
Want a little afternoon pick-me-up? Try new Nestle Sticks. They're slim, crispy wafer sticks with a creamy middle, dipped in rich Nestle chocolate. Give your afternoon a lift with new Nestle Sticks, Nestle Crunch and Butterfinger.
When Dad was first diagnosed with Alzheimer's, I thought, what if I have to put him in a nursing home? I talked to his doctor and found out more about prescription Aricept.
It's thought that Aricept may reduce the breakdown of a vital chemical in the brain. As the disease advances and more nerve cells that make this chemical are lost, the overall effect of Aricept may lessen.
Our doctor said Aricept was one treatment option for mild to moderate Alzheimer's disease. Studies show it helps maintain overall function, which may include effects on memory and behavior. Aricept is well tolerated, but not for everyone. People at risk for stomach ulcers or who take certain other medicines should tell their doctors because serious stomach problems such as bleeding may get worse. Some people may experience fainting. Common side effects are nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, not sleeping well, muscle cramps, feeling tired, or not feeling hungry. In studies, these were usually mild and temporary. Don't wait. Ask your doctor about Aricept. If it helps him be more like himself longer, that's everything to us.
The numbers are mind-boggling, and don't kid yourself, this is just the beginning unless something truly remarkable happens. 384 people are dead in Lebanon and 40 in Israel. This is war.
After serving